Hello and welcome to the August 15th edition of Western Maine Report. I'm Phil Blampede. People are wondering why there are so many deer jumping out in front of cars this summer. The fact is, they are jumping out in front of cars, and it led to a tragic fatal accident last week in Newry. We'll look at that. We're also looking at whether the town of Oxford will limit the number of marijuana shops in town, and how a local church prevented a property it sold from turning into something it wouldn't agree with. All that and much more coming right up. This edition of Western Maine Report is sponsored by Colette Cooter at the Maine Real Estate Experience. Contact Colette for all your real estate needs. Call 207-754-2735. Driving the main roads in Maine lately, it's not hard to be surprised by the number of marijuana-related businesses that have appeared. The question, some might ask, is whether it's really too many. Oxford voters may have a chance to answer that question next fall. The Oxford Select Board is considering asking voters if they want to put a cap on the number of pot shops in town. Oxford Town Manager Adam Garland explains.
At the town meeting in June, there was a vote to upgrade the town's marijuana licensing ordinance for businesses. One of the things that was discussed but did not make it in the ordinance because of time constraints was putting a cap on the number of marijuana businesses in town. So the selectmen are currently discussing and will be deciding should be deciding, I believe, at their next meeting, which is going to be the 27th. They'll be discussing whether or not they're going to put this forward to be voted on in November as a referendum question, modifying the ordinance to put a cap on the number of businesses in town.
Oxford currently has 15 licensed marijuana-related businesses, including recreational marijuana, medical marijuana, and cultivation licenses.
There's been two arguments over the last handful of years about this. And one is that there needs to be a cap for whatever reason that people think that there needs to be a cap, to keep the numbers down or limited. And then the other argument has been that just let the free market take care of itself. So as a casual observer, if you will, yes, there's a handful of licenses, but there have been ones over the years coming and going. I mean, if they're not doing enough business, they're not sustaining themselves.
Fees from the licenses amount to about $50,000 each year, with property taxes probably adding that much again to the amount the town receives from the presence of marijuana businesses. And from an economic development perspective, the businesses are providing some needed redevelopment.
So that's been one of the conversations that's happened over the years about these businesses, because they are buying these old, blighted, dilapidated, whatever you want to call them, buildings, and they're refreshing them and making them much nicer, as well as some of the ones that they're building. So, I mean, they, positive or negative, they are making the buildings look nicer. I would agree with that. So, and that also brings value to the town. So, as far as from a tax base, it'll be interesting to see what the selectmen decide to do.
The news is back. Western Maine Report. News from Western Maine. Because the people deserve to know.
This is Rich Bergeron for the Western Maine Report with an exclusive story about a case from Oxford County District Court. 22-year-old Camden Hinkle of Oxford, Maine is currently in custody at the Oxford County Jail after an incident at the end of July that resulted in 5 criminal counts filed against him. Oxford Police Department Captain Zachary Bisson reportedly observed Hinkle driving erratically while operating a yellow side-by-side ATV on July 31, 2026, on Number 6 Road in Oxford. Captain Bisson observed Hinkle skidding and fishtailing on the ATV, leading to the officer engaging his lights and sirens. Hinkle allegedly refused to surrender and kept driving. A chase ensued until Bisson reported seeing Hinkle throw up multiple offensive hand gestures on his way down an off-road trail. The officer's vehicle could not follow him at that point. Captain Bisson quickly contacted Sergeant Daniel Hastings, who arranged to deliver the police department's ATV in order to continue the pursuit of the suspect. Officers Bisson and Hastings caught up to the suspect once again on the trail network. Again, Hinkle reportedly refused to surrender. He then drove away at a high rate of speed, kicking off another pursuit. Officers located Hinkle and his crashed ATV not long after his second attempt to elude them. After the crash, the officers used pepper spray to help subdue the suspect, stopping him from escaping yet again. Hinkle was handcuffed and arrested on the scene. The officers brought him out through the parking lot of the Honey Badger Bar and Grill, where Oxford Rescue engaged in a decontamination process. Captain Bisson observed Hinkle shouting insults and calling officers pigs and other expletives after his arrest. Captain Bisson also reported smelling intoxicants on the suspect and noted that he saw empty twisted tea cans in the back of the side-by-side. Officers asked Hinkle to submit to an intoxilyzer test, but he refused. Hinkle was transported to the Oxford County Jail after hospital clearance. He made his initial appearance in the ATV case before Judge Philip Moeller on August 3, 2026, and he currently has a dispositional conference set for December 2, 2026, before Judge Thomas McKeon. The 5 criminal counts he's facing are eluding an officer, criminal operating under the influence, driving an ATV to endanger, refusing to submit to arrest, and operating after suspension.
You're listening to Western Maine Report, the news of Western Maine.
This is the Western Maine Real Estate Report for August 15th, sponsored by Cooper Farms, 27 Bethel Road, Route 26 in West Paris. Sweet corn and tomatoes are in, plus many other summer favorites. Stop by or call 207-674-2200. 2 historic properties have changed hands recently, the 206-year-old house at 28 Bethel Road in West Paris and the 126-year-old former Congregational Church parsonage on Main Street in Norway. The West Paris house, easily recognized by its yellow color, was popularly known as the Hungry Hollow Country Store for decades, featuring the baked goods of owner Shirley Dam. Dam retired in 2024 at the age of 91. She told a reporter in 2024 that she named the store Hungry Hollow after the legend that Native American healer Molly Ockett had placed a curse on that section of the road when the residents there refused to give her shelter one stormy night. Thereafter, according to the legend, nothing there would thrive, and it became a hollow where people went hungry. She tried to counter that the best she could with the sale of her well-known baked goods. On July 10th, she sold the 3-bedroom wood-frame building to Everett Leasing, LLC, the owners of Everett Propane, for $255,000. The property, with 5 acres, had been assessed at $220,800. Everett Propane told Western Maine Report this week that they don't know yet what they're going to do with the property. The old parsonage on Main Street in Norway has sold. On July 31st, the Second Congregational Church of Norway sold the property at 201 Main Street to Sean Smith and Christine Smith of Buffalo, New York, for $279,000. The former parsonage has 7 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2,240 square feet of living space on a quarter acre. The property was built in 1900 and includes an attached barn. The warranty deed was dated July 31st and recorded August 3rd. The deed includes restrictions that the property be used for residential purposes only by the new owners, allowing them to run a home business, but explicitly prohibiting any retail activities, including marijuana-related activity, any business selling sexual materials or services, liquor stores, tobacco stores, and a variety of other non-residential activities. The seller was, after all, a church. Among other recent transfers, in Buckfield on July 31st, Andrew Mott of Gray sold a 12.89-acre parcel on Mountain Road to Ryan Ranch, LLC of Apollo Beach, Florida, for $52,500. The property is assessed at $6,920. The warranty deed was dated July 31st, recorded August 4th. In Norway on July 31st, Yvonne and Brenda Goulet sold their property at 282 Jackson Lane to Stephen and Heidi M. Nepper for $509,000. The 3/4-acre property includes a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home with 900 square feet of living space and frontage on North Pond. It's assessed at $195,118. The warranty deed was dated July 31st and recorded August 4th. In Woodstock on July 31st, John Stokes, personal representative of the estate of Edgar Lee McCallum, sold the property at 424 Gore Road to 424 Gore Road 04219 LLC of Miami Beach, Florida, for $130,000. The property consists of about 3 acres with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home built in 1992 with 1,904 square feet of living space. The property has an adjusted assessed value of $72,800. The deed was dated July 31st and recorded August 4th. In Andover on July 31st, Robert and Rosemary Knight of Andover sold the property at 8 Cross Road to Danielle Marie Adams of Rumford for $160,000. The 4-bedroom, 1-bath house was built in 1935 and has 1,294 square feet of living space on 4 acres. It's assessed at $99,135. The warranty deed was dated July 31st and recorded August 3rd.
The news is back. Western Maine Report. News from Western Maine. Because the people deserve to know.
Collisions between deer and vehicles are not uncommon in Maine, but this season has seen an unusually high number in western Maine, including a deer collision August 9th, in which motorcyclist Rodney Goodrum of Upton was driving northbound on Bear River Road in Newry when he struck a deer. Life-flighted to Maine Medical Center in Portland, Goodrum eventually died of his injuries. Along with the Goodrum accident, there have been over a dozen deer vehicle accidents in the area in the last month, including one in Mexico the same afternoon as the Goodrum accident. Why are more deer running out into traffic? One thing many wildlife biologists agree on is that the current dry conditions are part of the problem. Western Maine has been experiencing drought conditions which peaked last March. There was some relief for a few months, but drought conditions are starting to develop again this summer. This greatly reduces the green and tender vegetation deer rely on in the summer. When this natural forage dries up, biologists say, deer travel farther and more often to find food, move out of the woods and into settled areas with a lot of roads, and then, tragically, cross those roads more often. A late frost this spring has also reduced the vegetation on which the deer depend. The fact that the numbers of deer are at a record high in Maine is also a factor. With mild winters and reduced hunting, the estimated deer herd has grown from its customary level of around 250,000 to over 360,000. According to Maine inland fisheries and wildlife biologist Nathan Bieber, the current herd is one of the largest the state has ever had. Drivers can minimize their risks of hitting a deer through common-sense practices. Deer tend to move around at dawn and dusk, so those are the times when driving a road in wooded areas to be the most cautious. Following the speed limit, avoiding distractions like cell phones, and scanning the edge of the road as well as the center can help. Drivers should look for the shining reflection of deer eyes on the roadside and should slow down if they see those shining eyes. Drivers should brake firmly if they see a deer, but be careful about trying to swerve around the deer because deer can sometimes double back and swerve themselves. They shouldn't stop braking just because the deer gets to the other side of the road because the deer can come right back into the road suddenly. If a deer is injured in a collision with the car, it's important to stay in the car as an injured deer may thrash around. Drivers are not legally required to report a deer collision unless someone is injured or there is significant vehicle damage that probably meets the $1,000 threshold for a reportable crash, or the deer is alive but badly injured and suffering, or the deer is blocking the roadway and creating a hazard. If it's simply a dead deer and no one is hurt, drivers are not legally obligated to report it. You're listening to Western Maine Report, your weekly news podcast for Western Maine.
Because the people deserve to know.
This is the Western Maine Scanner Report, a selection of transmission from emergency scanner broadcasts, compiled by Corey Mawhinney. The Scanner Report is sponsored by Dan's Automotive Repair and Sales, 625 Crescent Avenue, Rumford, right off of Route 2, 207-369-9302. Dan's is the one automotive service you can count on. The fancy automatic crash detection installed in many smartphones can be a help if the owner gets in a crash, but it can be a nuisance if the phone is simply dropped and sends out a false SOS. On August 13th at 8:13 a.m. in Buckfield, it was crucial in saving a 65-year-old man who had crashed on Bear Pond Road. The scanner reported that he had a possible broken leg and had to be extricated from the car. He was eventually transported to Bridgeton Hospital, according to the scanner. On the other hand, in Byron on August 12th around 5:20 p.m., an automatic crash notification was received from the Swift River Road area. Dispatch called the phone, and the owner said it had just fallen out of the car. No EMS response was needed, as they don't fix phones that break when they fall out of a car. The risks of recreation are small but real, and sometimes people paddling the popular kayak and canoe route down the Androscoggin River near Bethel get into trouble. On August 12th at 12:45 p.m., dispatch received word of a woman paddling the river who had to pull over near the Riverside Cemetery on North Road due to possible dehydration, according to the scanner. Swimming or stealing or both. On August 9th at 4:59 p.m., scanner traffic revealed a report from the town beach in Lovell of someone attempting to steal a donation box used to collect money for flowers. The suspect was reportedly seen using a screwdriver and believed to still be at the beach. Police were dispatched. The continuing issue with teen disruptions in Rumford was reflected in a scanner transmission August 12th at 10:46 p.m., when a caller contacted dispatch to complain about a group of over a dozen teens gathered on Hancock Street. The caller reported possible weapons being displayed.
The news is back. Western Maine Report. News from Western Maine. Because the people deserve to know.
This is the Western Maine Court Report, taken from the public records of the Oxford County District Court, along with in-person reporting from the courtroom. This segment is sponsored by Twin Town Glass, 217 Main Street, South Paris, 207-743-6478. Broken glass? We come to you. Highest rated glass shop on Google. A Waterford man was released last week from a year's confinement both in jail and in the Riverview State Psychiatric Hospital in Augusta, but was almost immediately back in jail for ignoring the conditions under which he was released. Mario Angeloni, 41, was in Oxford District Court last week after a long stay at Riverview Hospital. He had been charged with attacking his mother. In the attack, he threw his mother down, strangled her, and told her he was going to kill her. After his arrest, he was found incompetent to stand trial and sent to the psychiatric facility. Last week, the defense attorney told the court that doctors at Riverview believe he had been stabilized through medication and that in his current stay at the Oxford jail, he has been a perfect gentleman, unquote. He was released last week on personal recognizance, pending an October 28th court date, with the condition that he reside in Wilton at a prearranged apartment and that he have no contact with his mother. However, on Wednesday, the prosecutor told the court that he had never gone to Wilton at all, but allegedly went directly to his mother's house, where police found him and arrested him August 10th. Judge Andrew Robinson noted, quote, "This contact does appear to have been done on the basis of consent," unquote. This was confirmed as his mother, who had been sitting in the courtroom, was allowed to speak and pleaded for the court to release him again. She said, "My son's been working really hard on his issues, and I'd really like to have him come home. He's really a good man. I think we can work together on this." However, the judge agreed with the prosecutor that allowing him to return home might be unsafe for his mother. The judge arranged for the mother to meet with a victim's advocate and noted that her point of view would be taken into account in the upcoming hearings.
You're listening to Western Maine Report, the news of Western Maine.
Here are some events coming up in Western Maine. These coming events are sponsored by Perfect Stitch Embroidery, Screen Printing, and Promotions, located at 191 Park Street, Route 26, South Paris, 207-743-2830. Don't miss the final 2 days of our tent sale, August 15th and 16th. Saturday, August 15th is a busy day in Western Maine. It's Dixfield Day in Dixfield, starting at 10 a.m. in the town center on Route 2. Live music, local vendors, games, and a cornhole tournament are in store. In Freiburg, it's Aviation Day at the White Mountain Regional Airport from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with fly-ins and demonstrations. And, as on every summer weekend, the Bethel Farmers Market takes place from 9 a.m. to noon on the green space behind Norway Savings Bank just off Route 2. It offers local produce, baked goods, meats, flowers, and other products. A traditional lobster bake is on offer on Saturday at Sunday River in Newry, starting at 5:45 p.m. The fee is $43. Saturday evening, there will be an author talk by Amy White Chapman at the West Paris Public Library. She'll be talking about her recent memoir, Just Like Glass, starting at 6:30 p.m. And later that evening, the music of Kitty and JT is in store from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Brick and Stone Tavern on Congress Street in Rumford. On Sunday, August 16th, if you like the sound of a full brass band, the Mahoosic Community Band is offering a free concert starting at 5 p.m. on the Bethel Common in Bethel. It offers the music of Copeland, Sousa, Glenn Miller, and more. On Monday the 17th, a free week-long art camp for kids from 2nd to 6th grade will be offered by the Bethel Area Arts and Music Organization at the Museums of the Bethel Historical Society on Broad Street in Bethel. Registration is required. Call 207-320-9714. On Wednesday, August 19th, the last of the open-air summer concerts at Moore Park, Route 26 in South Paris, will feature the group Hurricane Mountain. Starts at 6 p.m. Bring your own lawn chair. In Rumford, Thursday, August 20th, there's the Western Maine Farmers Co-op Market from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Abbott Farm Plaza by Tractor Supply, Route 2. In Waterford, the Nomad Trail Race happens on Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Hawk Mountain Preserve. It's a 4-mile trail race. The fee is $15 or $5 for participants under 18, and registration is required. Contact the Western Foothills Land Trust for more information. In Bethel, Friday the 21st, the Maine Mineral and Gem Museum on Main Street is offering a hands-on program on bismuth crystal growing from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's free, aimed at families and children, and registration is not required. Get a crystal to take home. Call 207-824-3036 for more details. And finally, on Paris Hill on Saturday, it's the annual Hannibal Hamlin's birthday celebration. Paris Hill celebrates the birthday of Hannibal Hamlin, Maine native and Abraham Lincoln's first vice president, with a free, family-friendly community celebration on the historic village common. The celebration features entertainment, games, food, and the Maine State Cake Decorating Championship. It's free. Well, that's it for the August 15th edition of Western Maine Report. I'm Phil Blampede, the producer of Western Maine Report, and I'm helped by Corey Mawhinney, who puts together the popular Scanner Log and Real Estate Report as well as doing the calendar of events, and by Rich Bergeron, who reports on the Oxford County Courts as well as other topics. See you next week, because the people deserve to know. This edition of Western Maine Report is sponsored by Colette Cooter at the Maine Real Estate Experience. Contact Colette for all your real estate needs. Call 207-754-2735.